Hello, families. We are so glad to have you join us today. I am Martha Strickland. I am the State Director of 4-year-old kindergarten with South Carolina First Steps. It is our honor and our pleasure to have a great panel today to talk with you about what the 4-year-old kindergarten looks like, what your role is as a parent, and our team's role as coaches and supporters of 4-year-old kindergarten in South Carolina. We are absolutely thrilled to introduce you to our team of coaches that are with us today. We've got 4 coaches that will be talking with you about content, what is actually going to happen in our classrooms every day, something that you will be able to hold, look forward to, and help you understand about what our outlook on this wonderful, magical year of 4-year-old kindergarten will be for your students. This is in webinar mode, so your cameras are off and your sound is off. You're not able to turn them on, but we encourage you, we want you to put things, any question or any comment you have in the chat box. There's also a Q&A. So as you go along, you'll see the Q&A box at the bottom. If you have a question about the school day or anything that will be happening in the classroom, please, we encourage you to put those questions in the Q&A. And at the end, when our coaches finish their presentations, then we're going to have time for question and answer. But in the meantime, use that chat box and use that Q&A to ask questions and make comments as we go. So we are absolutely thrilled to have you today. We've got a poll. We're going to start out with a poll this morning. How prepared do you feel about the upcoming school year? Think about yourself as a parent, what you know about 4-year-old kindergarten. How prepared do you feel right now? We're going to ask the same question at the end of our webinar today, and we will see if you've changed your answer, if you feel more prepared about your child entering a First Steps 4-year-old kindergarten classroom in a very short few days. Some have actually started already today, but most of our programs begin on August 19th, which is a week from today. So we are thrilled. We're going to leave that poll up there for a minute. Let everybody answer. How prepared do you feel about the upcoming school year for your 4-year-old? So as our coaches do talk and introduce you to what the daily schedule looks like and what you can expect from your child, what your child will be participating in and learning as the year goes by, we hope by the end of our session today, you're going to feel a lot more prepared than you feel right now. It is a fun time. There is nothing more magical than a 4-year-old. They are bright and curious and cannot wait for this school year to get going, I'm quite sure. Got a couple, looks like 73% of you have participated. Got about 80 of you that we'd like to answer. Give you another quick minute. All right, let's go ahead and share these results, let you see what everybody thinks today. So it looks like about 9 of you say that you're not, 9% say you're not at all prepared. About 56% of you are saying you're somewhat prepared. 25%, about a quarter of you, are saying very prepared. And about the same percentage, 10%, are saying you're extremely prepared. So at the end, we will look forward to seeing what that looks like at the end of our presentation today. Our very first, I want you to look at what the topics we're going to talk about, a peek into First Steps 4K. We're going to talk about learning through play, what the curriculum looks like, and how children, the authentic play, what that means, how it helps children learn. You'll learn about the daily schedule. You'll learn about what our routines look like. We want you to learn about conscious discipline so that you understand how our children will be working on self-regulation skills. We have student and family services, and then our Q&A. So our very first coach that I'd like to introduce to you, and the role of our coaches, they are boots on the ground in our classrooms. They come and visit the classrooms at least twice a month and spend 2 or 3 hours in the classroom. Their role is to support the instruction that's happening in the classroom. The very first coach that we're going to hear from is Cindy Ellis. And Cindy is a coach in the PD area. I am going to say she's got several counties in that PD area. So Cindy, if you would kick us off, and she's going to talk about unveiling the fun learning through active play. Thank you, Cindy.
Hi, everyone. So welcome, and we're going to start with the curriculum choices that First Steps 4K offers. So our First Steps 4K classrooms have the option to select from 3 state-approved research-based curricula that center around student play. Those are Montessori, High Scope, and Creative Curriculum. Montessori curriculum emphasizes hands-on learning through self-directed play and individualized instruction with an aim to foster order, concentration, and independence through a carefully prepared classroom environment. Mixed age groups in the Montessori classroom allow younger students to learn from the older students and the older students to reinforce their knowledge by helping younger students. High Scope curriculum is based on active learning where students are encouraged to plan which materials they will use and how they will use them. Students explore and interact through purposeful play. Creative curriculum focuses on purposeful play, positive relationships, and engaging environments. Creative curriculum centers around project-based investigations that are rooted in interesting, child-relevant topics or studies. You can see examples of a few of these studies being implemented in the photos. Each of the 3 curriculum-based classrooms are organized by interest areas to promote different types of play and learning experiences. Most of our 4K classrooms currently use creative curriculum. So are students learning through play? Yes, most definitely. Students are learning by manipulating materials, engaging in meaningful interactions, enjoyable play, and stimulating activities. Depending on the school you choose and the curriculum they implement, you may see these interest areas in your student's classroom. As you can see here, in dramatic play, students are engaging in conversations, interacting with peers, and making connections with experiences. The student at the table with the clipboard is also using language and writing skills to take an order for her restaurant. We have science, sand and water, and art as well. And you'll see in science, the observing, analyzing, and recording observations are being seen in the science area as children are interacting and exploring. And in art, you can see manipulation of Play-Doh, the use of art tools like paintbrushes, which are necessary to build fine motor skills. These are pre-writing skills the students are learning. The students at the bottom of the math and manipulative photos are using numbers and cubes to identify the numbers along with their corresponding quantities. The student at the top of the language and literacy photos using a sand tray with sandpaper letters as a tactile way to learn to write letter formations along with the letter sound. Learning through authentic play supports multiple areas of development simultaneously, which is developmentally appropriate and a powerful educational tool. 4K uses ongoing assessments throughout the year. The GOLD assessment is a standard-based assessment used across all state 4K classrooms and aligns with the South Carolina Early Learning Standards. GOLD is an authentic, ongoing, observational, play-based assessment, so not a test, that follows widely held expectations that are typically demonstrated by 4-year-olds. Teachers are able to document in GOLD through observations of students and listening to and engaging in conversations with students. Teachers enter documentation daily, and individualized reports are prepared 3 times throughout the school year. These times also offer family teacher conferences, and these conferences are highly encouraged. And now I will turn it over to Kenna Hoover, who will talk about a day in First Steps 4K.
Can y'all hear me? My name is Kenna Hoover, and I am here to talk to you about the attendance and the schedule of 4K. Attendance and schedule is so very important to 4K and to young children. Your child is no longer in daycare where you drop him off and pick them up whenever you like. So one of the big differences is daycare, you can kind of drop off, pick up whenever you like. 4K has a schedule. There's a starting time and there's an ending time, and it's important to adhere to those times. When your child comes late or leaves early, they're missing important aspects of the day. Learning starts the moment your child enters the classroom and continues until the moment the day is over. This helps with building the skills for school transitions. The transition to kindergarten begins on day one of 4K. It's also important that your child attend school regularly. We understand that children get sick and things come up, but attendance is important. So make sure that you're in communication with your teacher and your center leader. The expectation is that your school the expectation is that your child is at school on time daily and ready to learn through play. This is one of the ways that we can get them ready for big school. The daily schedule. Our schedule is full of fun and playful activities that keep children busy throughout the day. Research and best practice show us that young children learn best through play. Students will participate in whole group activities for short amounts of time, as well as small group learning, a lot of time in interest areas like Cindy was talking about, and plenty of outside time. Through play, children will learn math skills, phonological awareness skills, as well as emergent reading and writing skills, all setting them up for school success. Children will take a short rest throughout the day that will be no longer than 45 minutes. Schedules and routines are so important for our little learners and teachers too. Routines help students feel safe and secure because they know what is coming next and what is expected. There will be a visual schedule posted in each classroom so that the students can learn the sequence of the day and begin to predict and anticipate what will come next. When children know what's coming next, it decreases anxiety and uncertainty, allowing more children to be successful. And you'll see here, this is kindergarten readiness. So there's some pictures on the screen, a question of the day that your child will answer every day. The what we know, questions we have, and what we learned. They'll be asked to sign in daily. So your child's teacher has a job to do, and that job is to prepare your child to be successful in school. Teachers are doing this with playful learning experiences. Kindergarten readiness does not look like learning sight words, reading, tracing their names, doing homework, worksheets, or reading leveled books. It does look like building skills through big body play, as well as fine motor skills. It's talking and questioning, discussing books, discovering things through play. It's painting, playing with letters, blocks, learning imaginative play skills, and social skills. When we provide children the opportunities to practice these skills, they're more ready to develop skills like writing their names, counting bigger numbers, and skills that they'll learn in kindergarten. By encouraging a love of reading, playing with words, we are setting them up for future reading success. By talking to them and exposing them to new words, they're growing in their oral language development. By setting up these consistent learning experiences at school as well as home, we're setting our children up for success. So how can families help? Family partnerships are a cornerstone to a successful 4K program. Children benefit from the guidance, love, and support of multiple adults who can provide different perspectives, skills, and experiences. Creating a meaningful relationship with your 4K teacher assists your child in feeling welcomed and that the most important people in their life are all on the same team. By getting your child to school each day on time and ready to learn, you're preparing them for success. Have open communication with your child's teacher. Let them know when there's something going on in your child's life, even if it's minor, that may affect your child's behavior at school. You and your child's teacher are on the same team. I'm going to hand it over to Jennifer Williams, and she's going to talk to us about some of our social emotional.
Hi, everybody. I am going to talk today about our social emotional program that we use. It's called Conscious Discipline. So with Conscious Discipline, it's part of the curriculum. We use it every day, all day in the classroom. It's a social emotional program that we use, and it's an adult first model. I think we all know as teachers and as parents that we cannot make any 4-year-old sit in a chair. There's not a sticker or a prize or anything that will make that child sit in the chair. So with Conscious Discipline, what we do is empower the teachers to have these tools to use with their children every day. We believe very strongly you cannot teach what you do not know. And that's why we provide ample opportunities for our teachers to get professional development in conscious discipline. So the three big concepts that you're going to hear about the first few weeks of school with conscious discipline are safety, breathing techniques, and connection. Safety is a big part of the conscious discipline program. One of the things that your teacher may say to the class as a chant, it's the teacher's job to keep you safe. It is your job to help keep us safe. Safety is a big part of it. We know that if a child doesn't feel safe in their environment or with a teacher or an adult, then learning is the last thing on their mind. So we want to encourage that safe feeling. We do commitments in the classrooms. They do daily, weekly, sometimes monthly commitments, as well as having a job board. The job board is for every single child in the classroom. This is a great opportunity for you to take what they're doing in the classroom and take it home with you. What is their job at school? It ranges everywhere from turning the light on and off to being a teacher helper to holding the door. They may have that job for a week. They may have the job for a full month. It all depends on the teacher, but it's very important to that child and a great way for you to bring that into the classroom. We also talk about breathing techniques. That's something that you're going to hear a lot about. We have 4 main breathing techniques that we use that we're going to be introducing to the students right off the bat. The star, the drain, the pretzel, and the balloon. This makes it fun for the children. That gets them engaged and gets them moving a little bit. So we're going to do the balloon breath I'm going to do the balloon breath for you real quick. It's very easy, and you might even shock your little one that you know it before they do. So we interlace our fingers and we put it on top of our head. And we're going to do the breath 3 times. We're going to breathe in and out. In and out. One more time. In and out. So that's our balloon breath. There is brain science. There is science behind the technique that it changes the brain chemistry in children when they take these 3 big breaths. There's so much science behind this program in general, and especially behind these breathing techniques. And they do them all day long, all year long. They do them when they're overstimulated, when they're upset, and they do them when they're coming in from outside and they need to calm their body. So this is something that you're going to see a lot of and hear a lot of. So you know to look for and to listen for these particular ones, the star. They say, I'm going to be a star. And to be a star means to smile, take a deep breath, and relax. And that's probably the first one that they're going to learn. So the last concept, the big concept with our program with conscious discipline is connection. This is something that we start out with right off the bat. We want the teachers to make these connections with the children as soon as the door opens. And there's several ways they do that. We have a Brain Smart Start. And a Brain Smart Start can be anything from a dance and a song to a chant or a small little activity. And the class will start by doing it as a class together, and possibly then one-on-one with a teacher and maybe one-on-one with their classmates. But the Brain Smart Start, as you can see, it is there to unite, to connect, to disengage stress, and then commit. We have the Wish Well. The Wish Well is something they're going to do every morning. This is, again, something you'll hear, the words you'll hear, the Wish Well. Wish Well is very simple, but it's powerful. Every morning when the teachers take attendance, they're going to put whoever is absent that day, they'll put their name or their picture in the heart, inside the heart. When that's completed, we're going to wish whoever is inside the heart, we're going to wish them well. And the way that we wish well is we put our hand over our heart, we take a deep breath, we wish you well. Very simple, but incredibly powerful. The children know, because they do it every single day, that when they're gone, when they're sick, if they're on vacation, that their friends and their school family in that classroom are going to be wishing them well, because they know they've done it for all the other children that have not been there. And that is super powerful and another way to have that connection. Lastly, we do I love you rituals. That's something that you'll hear and something you can also take home. These are a little bit different from ones you may hear. We have Twinkle Twinkle and Georgie Porgy, but there's a little spin on it. So what we do with I love you rituals, very simply, is you're connecting with the child, and it's the teacher one-on-one. And they're singing these little chants, and they're making eye contact with the child. And there's touch, and they're holding their hand or they're touching their face. And they're smiling and they're engaging, and it's playful. And that is how that we make those connections. And we begin with those on day one, and we do them all throughout the school year. If you have questions about I love you rituals or the Wish Well, the Brain Smart Start, any of the things that they do, the job board or commitments, please ask your teacher. They are well versed in conscious discipline and work with it every day. We truly believe in it. It's very important to our classroom. We know that children that are not self-regulated, by the time they get to 5K, it's harder for them to learn. So along with all of the curriculum and everything they're learning every day, they're also learning to regulate themselves, be able to sit and calm themselves. And that's when they can be open enough and available to learn. So thank you for listening about conscious discipline. I'm going to turn it over to Shayla Pettigrew, and she's going to talk to you about our family services.
Thank you, Jennifer. My name is Shayla Pettigrew, and I am one of the 4K managers with South Carolina First Steps 4K. My area of focus is student and family services. And I'm so thankful that Jennifer went through those breathing exercises with you, because I also was able to partake in that balloon breathing before introducing the next group of items for you. So ASQ Online is a screening tool that's used by First Steps 4K. You may see these questionnaires in the paper form, but we have recently adopted the online format. The reason why this works is because it allows for a quick turnaround with a strong family-school partnership. It educates you on your child's development, things that you can celebrate as far as their milestones and what they're able to do. And it also gives you an opportunity to acknowledge where there's areas of growth. The online platform is also very easy to navigate, and it helps you decide what are the best next steps for your child. Although First Steps 4K is a general ed program, we do often collaborate with other entities for additional resources. And that's why that family engagement is so imperative. That home to school connection is a part of teamwork. Family engagement is a collaborative process that happens between the staff, families, and the children to build a positive relationship. The beginning stages is what you're currently doing now. You showed up today. It's that shared responsibility between the school and home on what's best for the child. It also gives you an opportunity to look at future activities and opportunities like family conferences, workshops that may be focused towards literacy or math skills, maybe volunteering, family conferences. All of those things and more is included in family engagement. Another resource that we use for family engagement is Ready Rosie. Now, Ready Rosie is a web-based digital tool that you can use to build strong family partnerships. It's mobile friendly, so you can log in on your mobile device, or if you have a laptop or a tablet, you can access it there. It is research-based and is used in all of the First Steps 4K classroom, regardless of what curriculum they use. Videos will be sent out to you via the teacher that relates to the study. These are pre-recorded videos, but they're videos about things that you can do at home with your child. Like maybe if you're cooking dinner, how you can get them to help you with measuring or tallying how many family members want a certain drink, or activities that you can do when you're all in the family living area together. So Ready Rosie also has these videos available in English and in Spanish. So be on the lookout for an invite that will come from your child's teacher. Now, one thing that's in Ready Rosie is an opportunity for you to communicate with your child's teacher. And it talks about that two-way communication is what I'm going to talk about next as well. So within Ready Rosie, there's an opportunity for two-way communication where you can leave comments about the videos that you experience, and you can leave remarks, or you can say if you liked it or if you did not like it. And we oftentimes read those and highlight those in our newsletters. And so we do value two-way communication. Oftentimes, you're going to hear from folks at the state office, which is in Columbia, via email and text message. This communication is going to happen per month on a monthly basis, at least once a month on a monthly basis. And here's some ways that are listed on ways that we will communicate with you and how you can communicate with us. You'll get a family handbook, and it will look like the picture that's posted here. We will send out family newsletters that you can receive via email. There's text messages about a variety of things. The transition booklet, you'll get that towards the end of the school year. You may get invited to join a focus group or the end of the year survey that we will ask you to participate in. So that's your way of paying it forward to let us know how maybe we can improve or what's working well, and you can help the next families. Also, we'll send you reminders about the First Steps 4K plus childcare scholarships as well. And so I want to congratulate you and say you did it. You took the first step in your child's school transition process by applying or enrolling and possibly getting approved to attend a First Steps 4K program. So kudos to you. I want you to embrace the journey towards kindergarten. We're not trying to teach what they're going to learn in kindergarten, but what we want to do is get them prepared and make sure that schools are prepared for your child. And so as the school year continues, you're going to learn more about the school transition process and what it takes to prepare for kindergarten. You may also hear the term countdown to kindergarten. This program is available in various counties across the state. And there's a link in the chat if you want to explore it more. But we will talk more about this throughout the school year, so don't fret, you'll hear more about it later. And I want to thank you for your attention today. And I'm going to turn it over to Martha Strickland, who will introduce our keynote speaker for today.
Thank you so much to this great team. With the chat box and the question and answer box is just really, you are putting some great questions up. After our presenter, after our keynote speaker, we will be answering all those questions. And I see lots of great ones that you parents are thinking of. It is my pleasure to introduce Chaz Lewis, better known as Mr. Chaz, to our group today. He is a dynamic educator. He's been a teacher in the classroom. He now, with a strong background and online presence, that's where he became known, most loved as Mr. Chaz. He discovered he had a passion for inspiring and understanding and guiding curiosity and possibilities in children. Along the way, he's completed a master's degree in executive leadership at American University, and he spent years in his classroom really perfecting this art. It's a science and an art, I'm sure Mr. Chaz will tell you, as to what he does. He shares his ideas in a fun and playful and accessible way, training thousands of teachers with his giant following on TikTok and Instagram. He's in the process of writing a book, and he goes deeper on his podcast, Mr. Chaz's Leadership, Parenting, and Teaching podcast. So it is my esteemed honor and pleasure to introduce all of you to Mr. Chaz. Thank you, Mr. Chaz, for joining us today.
And thank you for allowing me to be here with you in community, even though it was virtually. I am coming to you right now from Detroit, Michigan. I just finished speaking in a room full of people, full of 300 people. And now I'm excited to speak in this virtual room with you and to connect in this way. And I don't have a lot of time with you, but there are a few things I definitely want to talk about. I definitely want to hit that I think we can take a lot from in this very short time that we have together. And what I really want to talk about is generational cycles and this kind of CD-ROM that we have downloaded onto us and download it into our programming and download it into who we are just by how we were responded to as children. And, what I want us to think about is that we're not going to necessarily be able to change the songs on our CD-ROM, or we're not going to be able to delete the songs from our CD-ROM. And, for people who are a little bit younger, the same applies for it's not just a CD-ROM, but it's also your playlist that you have. And the playlist that we hear oftentimes, and we're triggered, whether it is something like what would have happened if I did that when I was growing up? What my parents would have done to me? Like, those are the songs that often play in our CD-ROM and our playlist. And what we want to do instead is we want to really practice mantras, different mantras where we can add different songs on our playlist, because you're not going to be able to delete the songs that were put onto your playlist from the time that you were very young, but you can very much add a whole new playlist with very different vibes that are more helpful for you for solving problems and learning skills yourself and teaching children skills. Instead, we can focus on recognizing that the behavior is not happening to us, it's happening in front of us. And that's a very different song to play than "You Deserve to Be Hit" or "Spanked" or "Isolated" or whatever it is that plays in most of our CD-ROMs and our playlists. So right now, what we can do, and I'm not out there with you, but the more you say it out loud and the more you do it and you say it out loud, the more you will be able to download those new songs and the playlists. And so even though I'm not seeing you, I'm trusting that you're going to say it out loud. I very much encourage that you do. So thinking it about, instead of thinking about, the reason why this behavior is happening is because they're trying to get on my nerves, they're trying to attack me. Instead, everyone say Q-tip. Q-tips just stands for quit taking it personally, right? Instead of beating ourselves up for mistakes, recognize it's an opportunity. It's OOPS just stands for our opportunity to practice skills or our opportunity to problem solve. And so start to put these new playlist songs on your CD-ROM. Another one that you can do, and one that I created because I was someone who received a lot of harsher methods from mistakes that I made. I tend to sometimes be a little bit of a perfectionist, or sometimes I will really beat myself up for not meeting expectations or not meeting my goal. And instead, reminding myself that, you know, perfection doesn't exist. The goal isn't to be perfect every day. The goal is to improve a little every day. And so really say that with me. Say, the goal isn't to be perfect every day. The goal is to improve a little every day. Say, avoid being a perfectionist, be an improvementist. Another way that I like to think about this is like the iPhones, right? When the iPhones first came out, a huge issue, right? And a lot of us, a lot of us grew up with a lot older technology. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that kind of remember a lot older technology, the Blackberries, the flip phones, the rotary phones. And if you're here even getting all this conscious discipline stuff and you're taking it in the classroom or maybe you're using it with your parenting too, that is a huge innovation. That is a huge celebration. That is like the first iPhone. And celebrate it because some of us, we got different backgrounds. Some of us came from the BlackBerry. And so that's a huge jump. Some of us came from the flip phone, the rotary phone, the adding machine, right? And so we're all on different places in our journey. And the fact that you're even here is something to celebrate. So take a moment just for yourself, hug yourself, your brain, all that stuff. Celebrate that you're even here and you're doing this work. That's huge. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. You're going to get updates, right? All what happens every 2 weeks with the iPhone, there's a new update that happens. And when we get that update, when we improve a little bit, we learn a new skill, we learn, to say, teach the child to say turn, please, so they can ask for a turn instead of hitting for a turn. We learn to take a breath. We learn the balloon breaths and all those things. Those are very small updates in the grand scheme of things. And a lot of times it doesn't feel like there's even been a change that's happened, right? You get that update, you're like, I don't even notice any kind of difference. But what happens over the course of update after update after update over the course of 50 updates, then it's like this iPhone is almost unrecognizable. And that is what we're doing. All those little bits of growth, every little preschool power hour or conference we go to, and we go back to our classroom, we try it. Those are small little updates. And you're not going to eliminate every unhealthy cycle of behavior in one generation. It's not realistic. It's not going to happen. So let's be realistic here. We're not going to do that. That's not the goal. The goal is to keep updating as much as we can. Continue with those updates. Continue with those little bits of growth, those little steps of growth. And then what happens is the next generation, they build off of all those updates. And their baseline is where we finished, right? Our finish line becomes their starting line. And they get to start with all those updates. And then they will continue to grow and update and update and update. And they're the iPhone 2 to the iPhone 3 to the iPhone 3. Every generation will be able to upgrade instead of just update. And so one day we have the Google Glass or the Apple Vision Pro or whatever the next innovation is. But we keep on growing, keep on building off of those little bits of growth. And we're not going to do all the growth ourselves. What's going to happen is they're going to build off of what we do, and we're going to pass the baton, we're going to pass the torch to them, and they're going to continue on their growth. So remember that when you're in the classroom, as you're here at this, the preschool power hour, and you're learning things, you're trying to do little updates as you're trying to go back into the school year, you don't have to do it all in one go. Take it one step at a time. Take it one step at a time. And before we leave, I want to give you a couple of just practical things to do so that I don't know what else is happening in the other sessions and what else you're learning, but I want to make sure that you at least carry some practical skill with me. One thing I'm going to teach you is the round and round the garden. If you're not familiar with it, try to do it with me and learn it. And you can find it online. You can find it on the Consciousness website. It's a really popular one. And I'm going to teach you this one because when I started working with 2-year-olds and I started doing I love you rituals, this was their favorite one. I'm telling you, this was the one that they would, and I did other ones with them, but they always came back to this one. There's something about it that just really fills up that connection need that they have. Remember, there's 4 components of connection. Do this with me. Say eye contact, touch, a playful situation, and presence. Okay, so we're going to do one that's going to have all those components. So pretend this side of my face is the child, and we're going to pretend right here. We're going to go right here. Pretend this side of my face is the child, and this side of my face is the adult. So you take your finger and you put your finger in their hand and you do this. Round and round the garden goes the teddy bear. 1 step, 2 step, tickle on your hair, right? And so that's an easy, quick little I love you ritual that you can do that has those 4 components of connection. Another thing that I want to teach you, and there's actually one other thing I want to add to that piece, is those who are familiar with that song, you may have noticed that it's little bit of a different version. I change it because the original version is round and round the garden goes the teddy bear. 1 step, 2 step, tickle under there. And it helps me feel safe as a male teacher to change those words to tickle on your hair. And so just remember, as you're learning conscious discipline, as you're learning anything new, bring a part of yourself with it, a part of add your own little twist to it, add your own little spice, add your own little flavor to it. Because you don't want to, as you're learning new things and you're updating, you want to make sure that it's coming authentically from yourself, and it's not you're not trying to be somebody else or trying to be this something that is not you. You can learn new things and still be yourself. You can learn their scripts and still make it come authentically from yourself. So that's something I highly, highly recommend thinking about as you learn new things. Now, when we first start, you might just start with the baseline, whatever you learn, just so you can get it down. But as you practice, take those training wheels off and ride yourself, pop a wheelie, add your own flavor. Another important thing that I want to teach you, and just something to practice for this year, is a lot of times children hit because they're trying to get something, right? They're trying to take a toy. They're trying to get a toy from somebody else, and hitting is the way that they're trying to get the toy, because they're using the skills inside their tool belt. That's a skill, you have it, hit, grab, oh, look, it worked. What we want to do is, instead of judging them and calling them not just calling them, but thinking that they're a mean old bully who's going to ruin my classroom and eventually maybe become a serial killer, or sometimes it's even if it's a boy is hitting a girl, that could be a trigger for us too. And we're thinking, oh, he's going to become a woman beater because he hit this girl when he's 3 or 4 years old to get this toy. And really, what's more helpful is to recognize that, okay, this is a child who just doesn't have the skills to navigate the social situation. So let's teach them, right? And if we see it differently, right? We're able to see it differently. We're going to be in a much better position to do something differently. So we got to see it with
Looks like Mr. Chaz is frozen on my end. I'm not sure if any of you can see him. Oops, and let's see, it looks like maybe he just fell off. All right, so I'm going to start answering some questions or asking our panel members to ask some questions. And if he comes back on, we'll let Mr. Chaz join back on. But yeah, he was frozen on my end. Up, and I think he just fell off. All righty, so you have got some incredible questions. One thing I want to remind you of a couple of things before we start with the questions. First Steps 4K is a state-funded 4-year-old kindergarten program. We are a sister program to the public school 4-year-old kindergarten programs. The law is essentially the same for both of them, but it varies a little bit. We provide full day 4-year-old kindergarten in private childcare, in charter schools, in nonprofit independent schools. We provide 4-year-old kindergarten, the tuition and the support in anything other than a public school setting. All that to say, we had lots of questions about the start and stop time. That will depend on the center or the program, the school where your child's attending. So make sure that you ask that center. Some of our programs, their contract is for a 6.5-hour school day. And some of our programs contract for an 8-hour school day. So that is the 4K funded day that we pay tuition for your child to attend during that time. Now, some places are open before the day starts, the 4K day, and some are open also after that 4K day. You can apply for a First Steps 4K. We call it 4K Plus. It's really through the SC Child Care Scholarship Program. That's through DSS. You can receive free scholarships halftime so that beyond the 4K day, your child can receive care at an ABC Quality Center of your choice. Also, your siblings of this 4-year-old child that's enrolled with us can receive aftercare, before care, for 5-year-olds and above as well. If you have 0 through 3 children, age 0 through 3, then they are able to receive a full-time scholarship. So this is 4K plus. Your coach, your center can help you with these questions individually, but we had lots of questions about the time. We definitely, just like when a child attends school, remember, this is a school program. We are a publicly funded school program, but we're located in private child care centers and in other sites. So make sure that you know those times. And if your program is a 6.5 or an 8-hour, the program that you attend will set those start and stop times. Make sure that you ask that program those. So let's see. Kenna, would you like to answer this one for us? What is the difference between a daycare, a 4K class in a daycare, and the difference in a school 4K program? I'd love to hear your answer to that, Kenna.
So the difference between a public school 4K and our private school 4K is not much. There's not much difference. We provide learning through play. The structure of the day is the same. In the public school 4Ks, they follow whatever district schedule they're on, and our schedule isn't quite like that. We follow our own calendar, but essentially it's the same thing. It's preparing your children for kindergarten through play. Some 4K public schools you'll find are more kind of worksheet driven and site-based, or I mean sight word based. But for most part, I think that they're pretty similar as far as the fact that the children are learning through play to prepare for kindergarten.
Great. Thank you, Kenna. I see a good many questions about rest and nap time. Cindy Ellis, could you share with us, talk about rest and nap time, what that looks like and the expectation in our 4K classrooms?
So our 4K classrooms do provide rest or nap time with 40 minutes, and we require teachers to allow students to read quietly if it's during rest time. If they're not a napper, maybe they're doing a one-on-one lesson with the child or student, this is a perfect time to do that as well. But we do not do extended hour rest times. That time is used for our engagement in the classroom and curriculum to be implemented.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. Pediatricians do tell us that 4-year-olds outgrow that need for a nap. And we had a great question about transition so that they're prepared for kindergarten. We always do want to provide, though, whatever a child needs. If a child had a very restless night, didn't get much sleep, they come in really tired one morning, that teacher is going to make sure that that child does get that appropriate rest time. But we also do not want them to have those extended nap times where they get into that REM sleep, that deep sleep, because that might disrupt their sleep at nighttime. And we surely do not want to disrupt that for our families and our parents. We want to make sure that, as Cindy said, that we're following those appropriate schedules. Let's see. Here's a great question. Jennifer, what does a family drop-in day look like? So as school's beginning, some of our schools did begin, not many of them, but some of them did begin today and are staggering a couple of start times through the week. But probably 90% of our programs are beginning on Monday. And our calendar says that Monday could be a drop-in day. So Jennifer, can you talk about that a little bit, what it would look like?
Like Martha said, a lot of our programs have drop-in day, and we have that available for the first day of school on the 19th. If that is a drop-in day for you, we look at that as an orientation. A lot of parents are asking in the chat and in the questions about meeting the teacher and getting information about the classroom, and that is the exact time to do it. You can look at the classroom, see how it's set up. Your child can go into the classroom and find their name and see where all the centers are set up. It's a great time for you to go in and field all your questions that you have for the teacher, the expectations, and to get that personal one-on-one contact with them before your child starts school.
Thank you, Jennifer. We had a good many questions about school supplies, and I definitely want to address that. We provide First Steps 4K. We are given state funding so that we provide all the materials in the classroom that your child attends. You should be asked to supply very little. There might be some personal things, like if you want to have a blanket or a towel for your child's nap pad, if your child might want a small pillow. There might be some personal things, like some parents like to have a change of clothing in a Ziploc bag with your child's name on it in a book bag. But as far as classroom supplies, there should be very little that you are asked to provide. I can think of a couple of things, though, that Kleenexes, boxes of Kleenexes, sometimes paper towels. Parents are asked to provide. Not every child would have to bring a box of Kleenexes, but they might ask you to provide some of those supplies that children use in the classroom. But again, check with your center, because those supplies, vary differently from center to center. We don't find that many of our centers ask for many supplies at all. But again, it depends on the center. So here we've got a great question. Shayla, think about this one. With the factors of 4K, will my child be able to have a chance to move up if they are accelerating above the learning basis inside of 4K? So can you address what those individual learning needs are that children, that parents might want to see addressed?
Absolutely. So, one of the wonderful things about this program and the training that the teachers receive is how to modify instruction. And so, modifying that instruction, if there's a child who may be excelling in one area compared to another, the teacher can modify that lesson for that individual child to make sure that they're supported in that area for their needs of growth. And so extending the lesson or including other opportunities for that child, it can also be an opportunity for the child to help other children in the classroom. With your programs that are using the ages to stages questionnaire, and that's all programs should be using that highlights where that child is. The teacher can then take what you have submitted based upon what you know about your child's progress and then begin to create an individual plan for that child on how they can extend or incorporate that into their studies, into their lessons. Also, along with the ASQ, if they're using the Teaching Strategies Gold, and there are I'm trying not to use terms that you're not familiar with, but if they're using Teacher Strategies Gold, which is the assessment tool, that allows the teacher to see where that child is developmentally and what their next steps would be. And the teacher can have that conversation with you as the parent to talk about those next steps.
Great. Thank you so much, Shayla, for sharing that information. Every child does move at their own individual level, and we want to make sure that we're providing all the skills necessary, and no child would ever be held back in learning in a 4K classroom. I want to jump back a minute because we've had a few more questions about supplies. You should not be charged. This is actually in legislation. Our parents are not charged a registration fee to register for First Steps 4K. However, sometimes centers will charge a registration fee for the before and after care, but that fee is also reimbursed to them by SC Child Care scholarships. So some centers don't charge that at all. It is reimbursed back to the center, and then they should give you that money back if you paid money to a center to register for before after care. For that, we call it halftime scholarships through SC Child Care scholarships. They will reimburse the center if you paid registration money for that aftercare and before care, but you should never be charged a registration center for the fee for the 4K day. That is actually in law, because remember, we're considered public school. You don't register when you go into a public school. They don't charge you money to register. Let's see, Kenna, I see a question about meals and snacks. Would you like to talk about the menu and meals and snacks and that availability for children?
Sure. And if I need more help, Jennifer, Cindy can jump in with me. The meals should be provided for your children. Breakfast should be provided for them. Lunch should be provided for them. And a snack should be provided for them. And that should all be free of charge. That's part of our program. The menu will differ based on your center. So different places will have different things, but they should be able to give you the menu at least a week in advance of what they're having.
Great.
So,
and those meals and snacks are covered in the tuition that we pay. You should not be paying for meals or snacks. That is part of our tuition that we pay to our programs for your students. So that's important to know as well. Let's see. Got a question about whether our teachers are certified. Our teachers, it is not a requirement in state law for our teachers to be certified in early childhood through the State Department of Education. However, it is a requirement that they have early childhood coursework and have degrees in early childhood or a related field such as family consumer science. So that's one thing, a role that our teachers do. That our coaches, they approve the credentials of a teacher. When a teacher applies to work at a center to be the 4K teacher at a center or a school with First Steps 4K, our coaches approve the credentials for that teacher to make certain that indeed they do meet those that level of education, so that they are an early childhood teacher in our program. so if my child stays for after school, I can send food. That again would be a question for your center to make sure. Let's see, we had an awful lot of questions. Will a separate, and Sam, this might be a good question for you, Samantha, will a separate connection letter be sent for the 4K child halftime and their sibling with the start, end date, and amount? Samantha, I know you know a lot about these connection letters and these scholarships that are provided.
Sure. Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha. I'm the 4K engagement coordinator with our program. So you are notified multiple ways about your scholarships, your child care scholarships, the added benefit on top of the First Steps 4K funding. So first you receive an approval email from 4K Plus letting you know that everything's moving through the SC child care review process. Then you receive a packet of information in the mail. And that packet of information in the mail is going to contain a hard copy, a printed letter called your connections letter. And on that letter will list all of the children in your home that you stated on the application that need child care scholarships. It will list the rates that you have been approved for and also the start and end date for each of those children listed there and the 52 weeks that it will be covered. So I highly recommend as soon as you start receiving that approval email to be on the lookout for that packet in the mail and to also be in constant communication with your child care provider as soon as you get that connections letter so everything can get connected. I know I just used the word connected a million times, but that's the best way to describe it. And I hope that helps answer that question.
Great, Samantha. Thank you for jumping in. And I forgot you were not in our initial group of people that we were introducing. So I want to make sure that you all know Samantha Ingram. She is our 4K engagement coordinator, and she does an amazing job connecting families and students with our programs. I've seen a question about uniforms. My child's school requires uniforms. Do the kids have to wear them Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, or is it my choice if I want my child to wear uniforms? If you select a center that requires uniforms, then that's up to whatever they're asking you to do for uniforms. It is not a First Steps 4K requirement. It would be a requirement of the school you choose. And I had a couple of questions also that I saw about how to change schools if you decided you wanted to switch to another school. Shayla, would you like to talk about that application process and how we go about helping parents find and select schools and moving schools and all that stuff? Thank you, Shayla.
Absolutely. So with the school transition or transfer process, once you are approved with a First Steps 4K provider, and if you need to transfer for whatever reason, it could be that you moved or you're looking for a location that offers transportation. We do have a student transfer form that you will complete at the receiving school. And so the school that you're wanting your child to transfer to, you will let them know that that your child was approved and is currently enrolled at another site. Provide them with the name of that school, and then the director or the school leader there at the receiving school will submit that transfer form to us. So you will not need to complete another application. We'll just transfer your records over to that receiving school for you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Shayla. As well, when you receive your approval email, at that point, you will receive when you answer back, you will receive a second email that talks about the 4K Plus. That's when you can apply for those SC scholarships. And some of the children, yes, might already be on a scholarship, but they might be rolled onto that. I was told I should apply for the wraparound application for my child. Does that mean he is able to attend school even when public school is closed, as well as able to arrive at school early or leave later in the day? Yes, that is for that wraparound care. Christmas vacation, when the classrooms are closed, the child care center's open, your child can go to the center full time and be able to receive that care during those vacation days. So it is really helpful. And there might be a copay, a small copay that the center selects. So we have had a terrific amount of time. Our coaches, it is time for us to be up, but we are going to put the poll up and let's see if you learned anything, if you had questions answered and heard, maybe it was a question you hadn't even thought of, but you heard the answer as this wonderful team of coaches helped you understand what First Steps 4K would be all about. We are so excited for you and your child and all the upcoming fun and engagement. What a magical year 4-year-old is. Our coaches will stay on for about 30 more minutes. So if you'd like to stay on, if you've got more questions to ask, some of the questions were individual questions. If you want to reach out to anybody on our team, we are more than willing and glad to help you find the person. If we can't answer that question for you, we'll find out who can. So let's see where oh goodness, this looks fantastic. Only 1% say not at all prepared, 12% saying somewhat, 56 saying very prepared. And look at those numbers, 33% are saying extremely prepared. So between very and extremely, that's up to almost 90% of our families. We are so excited. We are honored. We thank you for trusting and believing in First Steps 4K and helping you and your family to provide the best choice for you for that 4-year-old kindergarten year. This is a picture of all of our coaches and our support staff. We have eligibility specialists and a whole team in our office here that are ready to answer questions, and coaches that individually serve every single school and center in our state. We are very blessed by the support of the legislature and our governor's office to make sure that we provide families that 4-year-old kindergarten year, that we help you and your family to have the best 4-year-old kindergarten year that you can possibly have. We thank you so much for your participation today. And so we're going to not end it there. We are going to stay on if you've got more questions. But this is the time that if you'd like to drop off and you don't have an individual question or something else you want to ask about, we want to thank you for joining us. We appreciate you very much. We know what an exciting year this is, and we wish you well. We wish you the very best year, you and your child. Thank you. So we've got a couple of people. Let's see, we got more questions on here. Oh, this is a good question. Shayla, I'm going to ask you to take this one. Will there be assistance with applying for 5K next year? This is right up your alley.
It is. I love that question. And so one thing that we have been talking to teachers about is how to help you with applying for 5K. A lot of times the school districts start that application process around January, February of getting that information out. And so teachers will begin looking for that information to share with you on how you can get started with applying for a 5-year-old kindergarten, finding out where you're zoned for. Because the school that you attend may not necessarily be in the school that you're zoned for the upcoming school year. So finding out that information, maybe possibly getting someone from that school to come and speak, and so that you can learn all about that, or setting up tours. So yes, there will be, talk to your child's teacher at your family conference about what school you're zoned for and how you can get information with applying for 5K.
Fantastic. Thank you, Shayla. I love that parents are already thinking about transitions. Jennifer, this question, there was one earlier, and I see another one just popped in the chat, the Q&A. How many students are in the 4K classrooms? And somebody asked earlier, is there a capacity in the 4K classrooms? If you could talk about that number that are in the classrooms and that student to teacher ratio, please.
Sure. So we have several classrooms that are real small, and there is a 1 to 10 ratio. The maximum number of children that can be in a classroom is 20. We never have more than 20 children in a classroom. So if there are 10 children in the classroom, there can be one teacher. That is a smaller ratio than the state requirement with DSS licensing. If there are 20 children, 11 or more, 11 to 20, there has to be another teacher in the classroom. So you'll find 2 teachers, 1 lead and 1 instructional assistant in the classroom for 11 to 20 children.
Great, thank you. I've got another 4K plus scholarship question. Do you have to be employed full-time in order to receive or be approved for the 4K plus scholarship? That's also a great question. Samantha, would you like to take that one and talk about that eligibility factor?
So the 4K student, as Kenna mentioned, needs to be in school regularly every single day, but the sibling does not. That's something you would need to talk with your particular provider at. And just remember that these scholarships can be applied towards any school, any child care provider that participates in ABC quality. So the 4K student and the siblings do not necessarily have to attend the same site. I know that is more convenient for most families, but just know that you do have an option there in where you want any of your children to attend.
Great, thank you, Sam. So no school, no work requirement necessary then. Great, thank you. Kenna, here's a question, and I talked about the length of the 4K day, 6.5 and 8 hours, but I didn't mention the length of the year. Here's one. Does the program cover summer classes?
So it depends where you are registered to go. Many of our programs provide 4K for 220 days, which is another difference between our school and the public school 4K. Many of our programs do that. There are some that do 180 days, the traditional 180 days, but you'll need to check with your program to see if they're a 220 day or 180 day. If they're 220 day, they go through the summer.
Great, and transportation. Do you want to take that too, Kenna?
Transportation is also on a center by center basis. Some of our centers provide transportation. I think it's safe to say that most do not, but there are some that do. So that's another thing that you need to check with your center about.
Great, thank you. Cindy Ellis, a question just popped up, and we have 2 Cindys in our program. Sorry, I keep saying Ellis. The other one's not even on here. Cindy, here's a question, and I think you could answer this one very well. And we had a couple of questions also about this, about if your child has any type of special need. My child has ADHD. What help will there be for her in the classroom? Can you give us a little insight as to that, please?
So if you have a diagnosis, we encourage that to be shared with the teacher, and resources are available through sources that can come into the classroom to work with your student and to work with the teacher. If you feel like there are just behavioral differences, the teachers are prepared and trained to be able to identify resources to help you and the student to best be served in the classroom. Shayla mentioned before ASQs. That's one of the tools that we can use as well. So there are sources out there that are available. I'd encourage the open communication with your student's teacher.
Thank you, Cindy. Shayla, a couple of questions that kind of are similar. This is about parents coming in and observing in the classroom, but then also a parent asking, this is the first time my child's ever been in any kind of setting outside of the home. So I think those kind of go along, it's about a parent, the comfortable aspect, and feeling a little anxious maybe as well, the first time your child's been away from home and in a school setting. So can you talk about that a little bit for us on helping that child to settle in and how that would go?
Yes. So oftentimes we talk about the big transition of moving from 4K to kindergarten, but it's a big transition to entering into 4K. And so one thing that you could do to kind of help your child with those big emotions that may arise is to talk about that change of going and entering into school, maybe reading stories about what to expect on that first day of school. One thing that I enjoy doing is creating social stories, and that's a story that's about your particular student and what they can expect on the first day of school. What things that they would take with them, who would they meet, what are they going to do, and having those visual schedules in the classroom is always helpful as well, because it allows your student to be able to see what's happening next. And being able to be prepared on knowing what's happening next builds that trust and understanding of, well, you know what? I get to go home at the end of this day. Or I know when mealtime is happening or when nap time is happening. And so seeing that visual schedule in the classroom, but also talking to your student on your end about what to expect. And sometimes some of them like to bring something with them. So talk to your school about maybe that family picture that you can bring and put on the family board. So if they need to look back at that for comfort, that's always there. Some schools do allow them to maybe bring a stuffed animal on the first week or two to help with those big emotions that may arise. And so there's lots of things, and even for our parents that may be feeling anxious, that may help you as well to know what their day would look like.
Thank you, Shayla. We had a question also about, and they were happy to hear about conscious discipline. So we want to make certain that everybody has that link to that website. There is a lot, Laura just put it up there. There is a great deal of free information and resources for especially families, parents and families on that website. So please check that out. Let's see. Another one. So the 4K program that my child is, whoops, they keep popping. Will it be free to ride the bus back to daycare until I get off work? If the center does provide transportation, yes, there will be no charge for transportation, because that's something else that we also cover. We do cover that that transportation cost as well. I see a question about the 10 consecutive days and attendance. We didn't talk about that earlier, but that is part of public school law in South Carolina, that if you miss 10 consecutive days, you are automatically disenrolled. And of course, that same law goes along with us, because we are considered a public school program under the legislation. So yes, 10 consecutive days, but we also want to keep an eye on attendance. It is very important that our students attend every day and that they're there during the entire class time. You don't just drop in or go and pick them up early. We want to make sure that they're getting that maximum advantage. I see that you've got a question. This is an individual question about with her dad, and she's 1.5 hours away and cannot attend. So if it's every week, that's something we need to talk about, because we could not have a child. It would be very difficult for the child and this everybody for a child to be in school 1 week and out of school 1 week. That would not be able to be covered. So let's make sure that we get that question answered for you and covered individually. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about that and get all the details. Let's see. Another one. How can I find out who the teacher is and the supply list? So Kenny, you want to take that one for us?
Yeah, so again, that's a reach out to your center one. When you reach out to your center or your program, they should be able to tell you who the teacher is. And like Martha mentioned earlier with the supply list, there aren't really many supplies that they should be asking you to provide. That is in our legislation too, I believe. But you need to reach out to your program, especially if you haven't heard from them, and see if they're going to be having a drop-in day on Monday and if you're able to come in and meet the teacher.
Wonderful. Thank you. Shayla, I don't think we talked about Ready Rosie at much length, but I see here there was an app mentioned to follow along with curriculum and teachers. What app is that? Would you like to talk to everybody a little bit about Ready Rosie for us?
Yes, that app is Ready Rosie. And Ready Rosie is a fabulous, powerful tool for family engagement. If you download that app, your teacher will send you an invite for you to join. I encourage you to join right away. And once you join, you will begin to get what we call model moments, which are pre-recorded videos from Ready Rosie. Now, Ready Rosie will send you just videos on a weekly basis, but the teacher can also send you a video as it relates to the study. So whatever they're working on in classroom, the teacher can send you a video that you can work with the child on at home regarding that study. So download the Ready Rosie app. And when you go to the school, make sure you accept the invite so that you can begin to get those model moments. And those are also available in Spanish as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Shayla. We love Ready Rosie, and the teachers will keep up with the instruction that's going on in the classroom and send you playlists every week. Yes, Ready Rosie is not the same thing as Class Dojo. Ready Rosie shows parents snippet videos, modeling videos on what the children are working on in the classroom, and gives you ideas on what you can do at home. So I've got a question about the scholarship. How do I know which 4K I was approved for? I applied for all and think I got approved for 2. Which one do I need? So if you will go back and look in the email and see what center you were approved for, and if you aren't sure of the center, reach back out to our team and we can help you. Let's see. I'm sure y'all are keeping up with the chat box too. Have you seen one they're coming in fast and furious. Any question that you think we did not cover?
Martha, I was going to just acknowledge that a few people asked about the monthly newsletter and what do they need to do to sign up for it. And you've already done it. You've enrolled in and are enrolling in First Steps 4K. So all enrolled families are going to get this monthly newsletter, and we're going to cover topics every single month like conscious discipline, things you can be doing at home to support your child's learning in the classroom. There'll always be a Ready Rosie activity that Shayla provides with some great things to do like outdoors and really simple things using just stuff you already have at home. So be on the lookout for those newsletters. They'll be starting in a couple of weeks, and I will email those out to you and send you a text message.
I see another question about Ready Rosie. It is not the same thing as Bright Wheel either. Bright Wheel is center-based. That's about what's happening at your center. Ready Rosie is about instruction that will be happening throughout all of our programs. And it's fun stuff. I think when you just log on and even hear the little music that starts, it's very engaging. Oh, good question. You mentioned the 10 consecutive days missed, they'll be dropped. If I know ahead of time that my kids will miss 5 consecutive days, well, I need to fill out forms, so just let the teacher or center know ahead of time. Let your teacher or your center know ahead of time. There are some times that I've been able to forgive some attendance. I remember one time a family went on a trip to Israel, actually. I remember where they went, to Israel, and they were going to be gone for 10 days. And I was able to excuse that 10-day absence and ask that the child, when the family returned, if they could come do a little presentation for the rest of the children in the class and talk to the family, to the class, share pictures that the family might have taken and talk about their trip to Israel with the other children. So there are some times then we can make sure that we hold your slot. But if you know you're going to be out for 5 consecutive days, definitely let the director and the teacher know that. The 4K they are full days. They are not half days. We do not fund any program or student for half days. They're either a 6.5 or an 8-hour program. I can't find the Ready Rosie app. Shayla. Oh, Shayla's already there on it. She's already got it in the chat box. August the 19th is our 4K start date. And I think I saw Laura put our family handbook in the chat box a good while ago, though. If your child goes to regular pre-K, did they lose their scholarship? I'm not sure what you're asking there. They must be a First Steps 4K student to be able to have that scholarship and for their students. It is not too late to apply for the 4K plus scholarship for after school care. Does the 4K plus extend hours past the 8 hours? Yes. That's the 4K plus is to take care of your child's care beyond our 4K day. So either before school, after school, or a combination of both. So Kenna put in, specific questions about your child and the scholarship status. Email free4ksc@scfirststeps.org. You might want to pull up, Samantha, am I saying this correctly? To pull up their approval email, that there should be some directions in there.
That's right. Thank you for letting me say that. So each one of you should have received an approval email from our office from one of our eligibility specialists saying, congratulations, you've been approved for First Steps 4K. At the bottom of that email is the application link to First Steps 4K plus childcare scholarships. It's in blue. It's a very simple app, and it does not require any additional documentation to be uploaded. So check your email or go back to that email if you can. The link is there. Again, it's not too late. Go ahead and get that in. If for some reason you cannot find that approval email and need it resent to you, we're happy to do that. If you'll just email free4ksc@scfirststeps.org, and we'll get that to you very soon.
Wonderful. It's a little bit, I've got 1:31 on my computer. So this was our allotted time on our webinar. We are so grateful that you all joined us today. We are looking forward to an exciting year, just a year full of magic as a 4-year-old in our program. We thank you for believing in First Steps 4K, for looking forward to this fantastic year. If any of us can ever help you, our office is always here at your beck and call. So please reach out. We're more than glad to help anyone if they have any problem or question. So Asania Yates, I don't know what your question was. I see I got no questions answered. Can you put your question back in the chat box, Asania? I'm sorry, we tried to cover them all.
Samantha, is there a phone number that they can call? There's 2 or 3 people that are saying that they need to speak to someone, not through the email.
Can you see my screen? Does it show the wishing you well? Okay.
It does.
At the very bottom, there's all of our email and our contact information. So if you call the 1-800 or 1877 number and choose option 1, you are going to get a live person, and we are proud to say that. We'd love to hear from you.
Calling now.
Okay.
Awesome. And I'm putting my cell number in the chat. If you've got something that personal question that you'd like to ask, I am more than happy for you to reach out to me as well. All right. We wish you well, as we say, from our heart to yours. Have a fantastic year. Thank you for joining us.